Yo, 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 what up? All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started, so if you could quiet down. All right, we're going to run over a couple announcements. First things first, hello, family. You might be wondering, where's the guy that's half your size who normally does this on Wednesday night? He's not here tonight. He's at Millview, so I got to take the reins, so you should be afraid. All right, first announcement is, oh yeah, we have a drawing for all of our juniors and seniors who filled out their survey. It should work. No, I put it in the video. Oh, it was on Google Slides. But when you downloaded it, what a bummer. Do you want me to just tell you who it was? It's really lame. It's really anticlimactic. You know what? We'll save it for Sunday. Boo. You're all gonna hate who won it anyway. Somehow I didn't fill out the survey, but I won. It's incredible. Just kidding. Okay. Remember that High Step is starting up. Mike, do you want to make an announcement? A plug?
I'll keep it a plug for it, but starting 9/5, we're going to go back to doing some High Step again. I'm excited for the ladies this year. Get to go with Lauren Moss and do the children's ministry. So if you've ever done it before, you're welcome to come back. We're going to be studying
You
the
can
cross.
pass this around.
So if you've done it with me before, we go really deep in the word. We get to do some really wrestling. But if you've never done the cross before, and I think it's the sign up for High Step. But if you've ever done young soldiers, young ladies serving Christ, it's the next step. So anybody that's in high school, grades 9 through 12 has been baptized. We'll start on 9/5 over to learn how to teach class. So it's a completely safe environment. Christian was my first ever class to get started. I credit all of the success to my class, actually. So
That's right.
that's how it worked out. But glad to see everybody to come back for the first, again, for the first time. All right, thanks,
So if tonight's lesson is bad, blame Mike Dominski. All right, so the announcement or that sign-up sheet is being passed around. If you want to sign up for High Step, do that. All right, next slide. Camp reunion. So this is really exciting. We're finally going to have the camp reunion. As you guys know, that we had to cancel it because some loser got COVID, and so the whole staff was quarantined. So we decided to postpone it for when the staff could be there. So camp reunion is this Saturday. We're going to go from 6 to 8. We're going to have some burgers, hot dogs, chips, a giant water slide. What more do you need to know? So be inviting your friends to that. You didn't have to come to camp to come to the camp reunion. We'll let it slide. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think we might do some late night singing afterwards. So show up to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Next up, the Dig Devo. Okay, so high school guys. Seth Miller is also not here tonight. He went to Millview with Philip. I don't know. But he gave me an announcement. I do believe, okay, so the first dig of the year will be next week. It's going to be at the Miller's house, and Mama Shane is cooking. Yeah! And she's cooking some chicken hibachi. There'll be drinks and dessert, so if you'd like to come to Dig Devo, that's for our 9th through 12th grade boys. Be there next week. Yeah, there'll be a Devo after the meal, and then there's going to be some handball played. So show up to that. That's going to be Monday night, 6 to 8, so the normal time that it was last year. All right, next up. Okay, for our high school girls, this is the Impact Survey. So where's Ashlyn? Do you want to make an announcement about this? Michael, you're not a high school girl. Perfect. Yeah, I'll give you guys just another second or two to take a picture of that slide. All right, perfect. Next. All right, Walk for Water is coming up. So a lot of you guys probably have done this event before. Last year we had a little bit smaller of a Walk for Water since, COVID and stuff. But this year we're really excited. We're going to try to get the whole congregation involved this time. So make sure you mark this date on your calendars. think that's a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday morning. But we're going to be at Charlie Daniels. It's going to be a ton of fun. But remember, put that on your schedules. There'll be more announcements for that to come. But be inviting your friends to that. Be telling your parents about that so they can get excited. We want to make this a big deal this year. Okay, next up. The Cocoon Kickoff. No cookout this year. So we're not going to do some food. Boo, I know. But you can show up afterwards, and we're going to play some games with our Cocoon leaders. I'm not sure what that's going to look like just yet. But it's 6:30. Be here for that. Be inviting your friends. If you don't know what cocoons are our small groups on Wednesday night where we break up by grade. So those will be kicking off here soon on September 1st. So be inviting your friends to that. Remember that date. That's going to be a ton of fun. And I know that you guys probably missed your cocoon leaders by now. And if you don't tell them that. That'll hurt their feelings. Your cocoon leaders miss you, though. All right, next up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our lesson. If you haven't been here, or if you've never been to the Mount Juliet group before, then you don't know this, but the Mount Juliet Youth Group has 6 words that are very important to our ministry here. And those 6 words are... Perfect, and we're going to skip to serve tonight. All right, so we're going to talk about service tonight and talk about why that's important to our ministry. And you might be thinking, why are these 6 words so important? Why do they matter? They just sound like 6 words that don't really have too many connections to each other. But these 6 words, we believe, will help us stay committed. Come on in. They're coming in. We'll take a quick pause. But these 6 words, the reason why we decided that these 6 words are so important to our ministry is each one of these words are going to help us get closer both to Christ and to his church. And so that's why we do these 6 words. And so tonight, we're going to talk about the word service, or to serve. And tonight, we're going to talk about that because why is service important? Somebody tell me, why does service matter? Go ahead.
Without service, it's another avenue of people noticing us, noticing Jesus through us.
Okay, so it's a way for people to see the church. What else, Michael?
It's a way to be able to show Christ to others.
Okay, it's a way to show Christ to others. Anybody else? Go ahead, Anna. Yeah, if we don't use our faith, if we're not working, what does it matter? Go ahead. Yeah, Jesus' life was full of service. That's what he was all about. So tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. As followers of Christ, service is one of the very integral parts of what we are, of who we are. And so tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to start off by saying a big thank you and to give you guys a little bit of credit and a little bit of praise. Last year, we decided to start a new event this summer called Serves Day. And in case you didn't figure it out from the name, it was all about service. And so this summer, we challenged you on Thursdays, we were going to go and serve people. You know, a lot of our events were all about, hey, Monday night, we're going to get together and we're going to have a blast. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be a chance for us to get together. You know, on Tuesday, we had pray and plays or soak up the sun, and it was another chance for us to get together and maybe have a small devotional or to pray. But then we really just hung out and had a lot of fun. But then we decided, you know, if we're going to be Christ followers, then we have to follow in his footsteps. And so we decided that if Christ is going to serve people, then we should serve people. And so this summer, we had a ton of fun on our Serves Day. And so I want you guys to help me as we kind of fill in these gaps. I want us to talk about the different days that we had this summer and the different ways that we tried to serve people. Somebody shout out one of the days that we did this summer.
We went to the apartment complexes and the VBS, sidewalk VBS.
Okay, so we did a sidewalk VBS. Explain to me why you think that was important. Why was that an avenue of service for us?
It was a good way to show people what church is like without physically bringing them into the church building.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people who don't know about Mount Juliet, who won't walk through those doors. but we have a chance to show them what it's like to be here. We have a chance to show them how we can love them. Knox, what do you got?
Another one, one of the first ones that we did, where we made posters and stuff and went to the nursing home.
Yeah. Yeah, so we went I think it was our first Serves Day. We went to the nursing home, and we made all these signs, and we wrote on the windows, and we sang songs to them. And why did we do that? What was the purpose behind that? Go ahead.
Because they've been isolated all this time from everybody, and to make us feel like you're not alone.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes, I think especially over the past 2 years, COVID has done one thing really well, and it's divided us, and it's kind of separated us and made us feel isolated and alone. And we even use words like stay isolated or quarantine and stay away from people. And so they were missing that contact and missing that human love that they weren't receiving. And so we went to that nursing home so we could give some of that love back to them, right? And so we showed up and we wrote those messages on the windows and we sang for them, and we just had a great time trying to show love to them. Somebody tell me another Serves Day this summer. The Bless You Day. What was Bless You Day?
Make someone or multiple people's days better, just to bless them in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we gave every group, I think we had like 8 or 9 groups, but we came together and we said, okay, we're going to give you $50. Go out and bless somebody today. Show up and show them who we are. Show them that we're Christ followers. And, you know, my group, we went to Kroger. And it was honestly kind of discouraging. Every so often we'd ask somebody, hey, can we buy your groceries? And they'd be like, no, go serve somebody else. But we finally got this one lady who was picking up some groceries for her granddaughter. And they didn't have a ton of money, and they didn't have enough money for their diapers and some of the stuff like that. And so we were able to help them. And so she let us buy her some diapers and different things for that baby. And so we were able to bless her, and that changed her whole day, right? It allowed us to show them, hey, that Jesus's followers love you. Jesus's followers want what's best for you. And so we were able to go out and do that. Okay, what else did we do? Yeah, we went and gave some flowers to shut-ins. I wasn't there that week. Tell us what we did that week.
I actually had to go and help them be guests instead, but I'm guessing they split into groups, got flowers, and gave them to shut-ins.
Okay. Did anybody go to that day? All right. Will, tell us what was your experience like when you went to give some flowers?
It was awesome. Just a group of 4 of us, I think we went to the furthest place. We went close to Nashville. We just blessed somebody the other day. They were overjoyed to have us there.
Yeah, so shut-ins, just like that nursing homes, haven't had a ton of people around this year, and they haven't had people to encourage them. And so they got to do something where they were able to bless somebody. They showed up with some flowers and just saying, hey, we haven't forgotten about you. We still love you. And I'll go through some of those other days that we did. We helped Miss Tina Edwards with the preschool. A lot of you guys showed up. That was our only one that was in the morning. Some of you guys looked like you had just rolled out of bed and showed up to help us move some mulch. And you might be thinking, well, all of these things are great. Like, yeah, we helped move some mulch. But they have a purpose behind them. Because Miss Tina Edwards couldn't have done that without us. She couldn't have, or she could have, but it would have taken her a really long time, right, to spread all that mulch. But those kids are being served by that. Preschool is back in session. And that mulch gives them a safe place where they can play and climb and fall off the monkey bars, because that's what kids do, and smack their head on the ground, and they're okay because of some of the service that we were able to do. Yeah, sometimes it won't hurt as bad. Yeah, we helped Miss Patty in the teddy bear workshop. And so we went over there, and a lot of you guys cut out those patterns on those teddy bears, and some people stuffed them. I think my fingers had like a weird feeling for the next 40 hours, almost like there was TV static on it after I finished stuffing all those teddy bears. But we were able to help them, and we stuffed so many of these teddy bears for the purpose of those teddy bears get sent over to all the hospitals in this area. And when somebody comes in and they might be having the worst day they've ever had, maybe a little kid broke their arm falling off the monkey bars at the preschool, and they got a teddy bear from Mount Juliet. That was just another way to show them, hey, we love you and we care about you. We did things like You guys helped clean up the chapel one day, and you guys went and we had a thank you day, and we went into the community and we tried to show all of these different places, hey, we really care about you. And maybe your group went to the UPS office or the post office, or maybe you went over to some of our office staff and said thank you to Miss Tammy and not Miss Wendy anymore, Miss Kim over there, and just said, hey, we're really thankful for the work that you do. And that really helped people see that, hey, just right across the street, there's someone who cares about us. This group of kids who don't really know us that well, they decided to show up and say thank you. And we went across the street. My group went to the firehouse, and we made them this care package. And we were able to show up and say, hey, we just want to drop this off and say thank you. And the fire guy, or the fireman that was there, he said, he was so thankful and he was so happy that we would drop something off for him. And it was just some candy and some chips and some different things, but it was a way to show them that we care. And so I ask you again, why do you think service is so important? And I want you to be thinking about that tonight as we go. And we're going to turn to Matthew chapter 20. It'll be on the slides. In Matthew chapter 20, verses 25 through 28, this is what it says. Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers and the Gentiles lord over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. So tonight, as we think about service, this is what it's all about, right? Jesus tells them, when they're given this authority and they abuse it, and they hurt people, and they use it to put people down, he says, that's not the way it's supposed to be. When you're put into a position of authority, and he's speaking to his apostles here, they're about to have a lot of authority, right? They're about to be put over the church, and maybe just a few short weeks or a few short years. We're not really sure when this story takes place, but we know that Jesus was only here for 3 years. So it was only a short time before they were going to take over, and they were going to have all this authority, and they were going to be the people that are going to lead the church. And he says, when you have this authority, instead of lording over people and telling people, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, instead, serve them. Instead of putting yourself in a high position and saying, look at me, look what I can do, now you have to do all of the stuff that I don't want to do. He says, make yourself lower than that. Make yourself a slave if you want to make yourself higher than others. And so, this is kind of a big ask. It's not really like us to want to give up that power and authority or to want to lower ourselves to become a servant or a slave. I don't want to do that. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I was put in charge of a mission trip at Freed. And I took this big group of people, and what I found out is when I tried to tell people what to do, they weren't as interested. They didn't want to do what I told them to do. They only wanted to serve when it was something that they wanted to do. And so, one of the rather stinky jobs, and you'll see that this is not meant to be a pun, but you don't flush your toilet paper in Mexico. You wipe your bottom, and then you put it in a trash can next to it. And so it gets kind of stinky, which means that somebody's got to take out, this nasty trash every day. It's got to be done. And what I found out is when I asked somebody to do it on the first day, nobody would do it. And so I just said, okay, fine. And so I took out the trash that first day. And what I found is that when people saw that you were willing to lower yourself to do the really crappy job, they were willing to help out. That also wasn't a pun. I'm sorry. It was kind of a pun. But, it wasn't the best job in the world, and it smelled bad, and it wasn't super fun, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And once they saw me do it, once they saw somebody else do it, they were willing to help out, and they were willing to pitch in. And so I think that's why Jesus says, if you want to make yourself a good leader, if you want to lead this church, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to lower yourself. You're going to have to humble yourselves and do the jobs that nobody wants to do. Somebody's got to do the job that nobody wants to do. Somebody's got to take the trash out. Somebody's got to clean the bathroom. It's got to be done. And so Jesus tells them, if you want to be high in my kingdom, if you want to work with me in my kingdom, you got to humble yourself. You've got to put yourself beneath others and work. In Matthew chapter 14, we see that Jesus does this. We see that Jesus himself is a servant. He says that he didn't come to be served. He came to serve. And, sometimes people don't really want to work for somebody who's just going to say something but not do it. But Jesus was a man of action. Jesus was somebody who wasn't going to be a hypocrite. He was somebody who, when he said he was going to do something, he did it. And we see in Matthew chapter 14, it says this. In verse 13 through 21, it says, when Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by a boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. So where we see Jesus is going through something pretty tough right now. And he's dealing, and he wants to get away from everybody and have some time to recharge and to deal with what's going on. But the crowds follow him. And so in verse 14, this is how he reacts. And when Jesus landed and he saw the large crowd, he had compassion on them, and he healed their sick. So Jesus, who's just lost someone that he loves, who wanted a little bit of a break, when he gets somewhere and sees that there are people in need, instead of taking care of his own needs, he lowers himself. He humbles himself, and he says, I can heal them. And not only after he heals them, he's going to feed them too. And he says this, and as evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place, and there's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves food. And Jesus replied, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And he answered, he said, bring them to me. And he directed the people to sit on the grass, and taking 5 loaves and 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and gave thanks and broke the loaves. And then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. And they all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up the 12 baskets full of broken pieces that were left over. And the number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. See, what we see is it's kind of interesting. You know, a lot of times we look at this story and we see the miracle that Jesus performs. You know, he feeds this ginormous group of people with almost nothing. But what I want us to look at tonight is this was just another avenue of service for Jesus. This group of people that come up at a bad time. And sometimes we see service as, yeah, when I get the time, I'm going to help them. When I get the time, I can really help them out. But Jesus, at this point, you know, he had the right to say, look, I need a break. I just need to get away. But these people come, and he sees them, and he sees them for what they are, like almost like sheep without a shepherd. And he has love for them, and he has compassion, and he says, these people need to be served. These people need something from me, and he's willing to give it, even at a time where he really needs a break himself, when he really needs to be served and needs people to be around him and surround him and love him. Instead, he surrounds others and loves them, and he provides for people what they can't provide for themselves. So why would Jesus do this? Why would he give up his time, and especially a time where he's probably feeling lonely and he's probably feeling hurt? Why would he give up all of the things that he wanted to give a group of people he doesn't know, a crowd that he doesn't know? He's going to heal them. He's going to feed these people instead of taking care of himself. And sometimes service comes with a sacrifice, and that's what service is about. You know, service is going to cost you something, whether it's your time, whether it's your money, whatever it is. Service has a cost to it, and Jesus was willing to pay it, and he asks us to pay it as well. When I think about service, I can't help but think about John chapter 13. I mean, this is Jesus who lowers himself to the worst job, the job that was given to the servant who was of the lowest stature, of a slave in the house that was ever lowest on the totem pole. The worst job you could have would be to wash someone's feet. And we see in John chapter 13 that Jesus is going to do that exact thing. And in John chapter 13, starting in verse 1, it says this, and it was just before the Passover festival, and Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and to go to the Father. And having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And the evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. And Jesus knew that the Father had put the things under his power, that he had come from God and was returning to God. Notice that in verse chapter 3, he says he was coming from God, but he lowered himself to be here. And he was about to go back and be raised up again, but Jesus is going to lower himself again. It says this in verse chapter 4, so he got up from the meal, and he took off his outer clothing, and he wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, and drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? And Jesus replied, you do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand. So Peter said, you should never wash my feet. And Jesus answered, unless I wash your feet, you have no part with me. Then the Lord, part with me. Then the Lord, Simon Peter replied, not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well. And Jesus answered, those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean, and you are clean, though not every one of you. For he knew that who was going to betray him, and that is why he said, everyone is clean. Or not everyone is clean. And when he had finished washing their feet, he put his clothes and returned to his place. He said, do you understand what I have done? He said, you call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I am your Lord and teacher and have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that no servant is greater than his master, nor a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. So Jesus gets them together, and they're eating this Passover meal, and he says, I'm going to lower myself. I'm going to set them an example to show them what it means to serve. What it means to serve is to take yourself, sometimes off your high horse, or take yourself out of a place of authority or a place of honor, and to lower yourself to a servant. If there was ever anyone in history who had the right to stand up and say, do what you're supposed to do this for me, do that for me, if there was anyone in history who deserved to be served, it was Jesus. But instead of being served, instead of his apostles lowering themselves and washing each other's feet and his feet, they sit at the table and they argue over who's going to be in charge. And Jesus says, I'm going to set you an example right now. I want you guys to see that it doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter who's placed in this high authority. What matters is the person who's willing to get down on their hands and knees and serve me. Who's willing to get down on their hands and knees and serve those who are lower. To serve those who don't have a place at the table. Jesus made himself lower than all of them when he should have been raising himself up. And we see that Jesus is not the type of person to be arrogant or to be disrespectful, but instead he was someone who showed love above anything else. The only story that I can think of that shows Jesus as a servant more is when Jesus went to the cross. When you think about the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate gift that anyone can give you, it would be eternal life. And Jesus gives that to us, and he goes to the cross and takes upon all of our sin and lowers himself as someone who never committed a sin, but humbled himself and took upon all the sin of the world and died on the cross for it. And the truth is that he asks us a big question. He says, if you're going to follow me, you got to do the same thing. You got to lay your life down. And many of the apostles literally had to lay their life down and had to drink the same cup that Jesus drank. And they were crucified, or they were stoned, or they were killed, or they were exiled for this choice to follow Jesus. And so tonight, I want to ask you if you're going to really serve God. And I want to figure out how much you want to serve God. And I want you guys to serve God this year. And I'm so proud and I'm so thankful to be a part of this group where this summer we set about an opportunity for you guys to serve God. And we said, we want you to do these service days with us, and we want you to be a part of that. And so tonight, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we continue that. We don't want service to be something that we do in the summertime or when we have time. We want it to be something that we do all the time. And so tonight, I'm going to have you guys break up into groups, and you'll break up by your grade. So 6th grade, guys and girls will go together. 7th grade, guys and girls, all the way up to 12th grade. And I want you guys to think about how you can serve God this year. I want you guys to think about what service projects you've enjoyed in the past and what has worked well and what made you feel like you could make a difference. And I want you to think about things that we've never done. I want you guys to think and kind of dream up. And so I'm going to give you guys about 10 or 15 minutes, and you guys are going to break up. We're going to keep our middle school group in here, and we'll have our high school groups. You guys can decide your grade can decide where you guys want to meet and talk about this. But I want you guys to think about 2 or 3 different ways that you can serve God this year. So we'll have the 6th graders meet back here, 7th graders meet up here, and we'll have our 8th graders meet up here. And everybody else, you guys kind of figure out where your grade wants to meet.